Hell yeah. We're
All
back.
right.
It's been a while.
It has been. Has been,
It's
man.
been a
It's
little
been a
while.
while.
I got a haircut.
Uh-huh.
Dennison's way
I'm
more
just growing
tan.
out my hair, man.
Yeah, you're growing. Yeah. Dennison's more tan because he went to hey, I just got a notification we're live. Did you know we're live? Heck
Man, I
yeah.
didn't know we're live, but you know
Oh
what? We
crap.
should probably share that out to everybody so that way
Yeah.
they know we're live because
Let's clean
we
this
got
up.
a notification that they're live.
Let's clean this up. Let's act professional real quick. Um so yeah. No, man, it we've had a lot of things that have gone on. We actually,
Mm-hmm.
if you listen on the audio regularly, we did 2 episodes in advance just about 2 weeks ago because Denison was
Mm-hmm.
going on a little vacation.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so now we are back live in color, live and
Mm-hmm.
in color, man. Um, and a lot of good things have been going on for both of us. So we're gonna
Mm-hmm.
start off talking about
I
that,
know.
but um, we're also gonna talk about two things. One that really caught my attention. I feel like just due to the way the news cycle is, kind of flew under the radar, and that
Mm-hmm.
is the fact, and it's a continuation of something you and I talked about several weeks ago.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but if you remember, we talked about how California is putting really strict restrictions on gas powered vehicles, and it's going to make it all
Mm-hmm.
but impossible, really, to own one,
Mm-hmm.
or buy one. I think what is it, 2035 was the goal, if I'm not mistaken.
Something like that, yeah.
Yeah. Well, this is much quicker, and it affects lawn care equipment.
Mm.
It is going to ban the sale of gas powered lawn equipment by 2024, literally 3 years from now.
Yeah.
Um, and I actually am kind of for it. Hot take. I know.
Hot take,
Oh,
man. Hot take.
damn libs over here on the Catch Up podcast. Yeah. So I think it's interesting. And I know that there's many
Mhm.
negatives to it. There's going to be a lot of hurdles. But
Mhm.
I actually think it's interesting. So we'll talk about why I think it's the right move.
Yeah.
In a way. Well, how about this? I think it's the right move. I don't know if it's the right way to go about doing it, um, but yeah, we can talk about that.
Mhm.
And then we're gonna talk about the Facebook outage. Of course, everyone was talking about this. This happened while you were in Hawaii, did not?
It was just before I went to Hawaii.
Just before, yeah,
But yeah, no, it happened while we were on break, sort of,
yeah, right.
quote
Hot
unquote.
too, man.
But the thing is I feel like we're still feeling the ramifications of kind of like what happened and the fallback of that, or the fallout, I should really say. So yeah, I think it'll be a
Yeah,
good discussion for us to go over and kind of like also what is to come from
yeah.
what happened. So because I think
Well,
it affected us in a different way than that we first expected.
I agree. I think that most people have kind of moved on from it too. So I think to really hone in on why this still matters and why this is still impactful, I think is a really good idea. So,
Hmm.
yeah, we've got a lot of good stuff to talk about. And I have a gig to bounce out to in just about 50 minutes. So
Hmm.
we're going to fly through this one, but we got a bunch of good stuff we're going to talk about. So we're going to go ahead and get into it. All right. We're recording now. Okay, we're live. Or
Oh man.
we're live and we're recording.
Hmm.
Um, all right, let me get a good swig of
Double live.
some Sojourner coffee.
Oh man. That
Man, did
looked
you
like
see
a
that?
nice wake up.
Oh yeah, I know. Long night. Long night. um we'll talk about it a little bit. But yeah, did you see that Sweet and Saucy shared our podcast, man?
Yeah, man, it's awesome.
Yeah. Yeah, got a little plug from Sweet and Saucy, man, after we did all that
Hmm.
shop local, talk local kind of stuff. I thought that was pretty cool of them to
Exactly.
do that. Um,
Hmm.
and we're all about that. Of course, I would recommend, as I have before, Sojourner Coffee Co. If you're in Wichita, go check it out. It will pump you up and make you feel very excited and wide awake.
Mhm.
Um, I haven't even had like half of this yet, so I probably shouldn't finish it. um, but yeah, so ah, okay. Here we go. Three, two, one. Man, that Hawaiian sun did you some favors, man.
Yeah, man. Yeah, man. I'm looking the same.
Yeah, man. Okay, and we need to get these shared over on the Facebook, the podcast page
Mhm.
too. But it looked like it was a beautiful trip. What was it like? How did Hawaii
Yeah,
go?
man. It was nice. Very pretty. Uh, really relaxing. Um, and it was nice to kind of enjoy Hawaii as an adult because the last time I went, well, and it's also a different island, but the last time I went, I was, I was in ninth grade and I was going for a band trip. So everything was kind of already set out for me or whatever. So I really enjoyed my time there. It was very relaxing. Did a lot of beach going, which I'm not even a big fan of, but it was fun. Um, and really just enjoyed the views and enjoyed the relaxing um, environment, man. Like that those beaches were so pretty
I'm sure.
and everybody was so nice. That was actually probably one of the biggest things that I really really enjoyed. Like everybody was nice, like from the staff at restaurants to like the tourists to everything. And plus at the same time I feel like Hawaii is one of those cool places, at least if you live in like central time zone or something like that, is that you're in some ways I feel like you get the best part of jet lag in some ways because
Yeah.
it sounds weird, but like a lot of times, like we would end up going to bed early and then waking up early because
Oh,
we were
sure.
tired, right? Because our bodies were still on the central time zone and it's 5 hours at least. It's yeah, it's a 5 hour time difference. So by 9 o'clock, we're like, all right, we're done. I'm
Yeah.
tired. And then you go to bed and then you wake up at like really early. And then you start your day off and you just kind of keep going. So I felt like it was, now, of course, I think if we stayed a little bit longer, it would have been a little bit different. But I think for the amount of time that we stayed, we had plenty of time to just kind of like enjoy the whole environment and stuff like that.
Sure.
So yeah, it was great.
No, that's awesome.
Much needed.
It's interesting to hear two things. One is, I think Hawaii has a stereotype of being very anti-tourist. At least the locals are.
Mm.
They get tired of tourists, right? So,
Hmm.
it's nice to hear that that wasn't the case on Maui, anyway.
Hmm.
Um,
Hmm.
so that's really cool. And I don't know if you experienced that on your previous trips at all, but
I didn't when I was a kid, but
yeah.
I didn't notice. So
You have to check when you're yeah. Yeah, I know. I
exactly.
remember people saying the same thing about France, and when I was in France, I was 14, I was like, "Man, everybody's really chill here." I don't know
Hmm.
what you guys are talking about, but, the other thing is too, I remember when I was in California a few years back, you're right, man. Having that time adjustment, really going to the West Coast is about the coolest thing you could do, as far as
Hmm.
that goes, because you are going to bed at a decent time because you're tired and then you're waking up early. You're getting to enjoy more of the full day than you maybe would if it was same time zone or in a different part of the country.
Hmm.
Um,
Hmm.
so yeah, no, that's cool. I'm glad you experienced that. What were some of the attractions that you did? I know you enjoyed the beaches and you did some
Hmm.
sightseeing, which was cool. And like I said, when you get those pictures shared over on the social media pages. But yeah,
Hmm.
what other sort of things did you do?
Um, well, so a little bit of it was while we were trying to plan through some of the stuff that we wanted to do, like some of like the cooler excursions and stuff like that. We weren't able to do some of those because of the price. Um, kind I didn't expect that the prices were so high.
Oh,
And
really?
Maui is very much a um, at least in my opinion, I feel like it's very much of a scenic kind of place. So it's really,
Sure.
you're there for, the views and the beautiful views and the cool excursions, and so those excursions come with higher price tags that I um and I'll say we weren't exactly fully prepared for. But I think one of the coolest excursions that we got to go to or got to do was we took a ferry over to a smaller island called uh, was it Lanai? I think it is.
Okay. Okay.
And we
Sure.
got to kind of experience that island, which was very different than what Maui was, and
Yeah.
also the beaches were incredibly uh, incredibly nice. But
Yeah.
it was a nice smaller island. It was a little bit more rural, so you know, really once you got past the docks,
Yeah.
it was, you're on the gravel. And
Sure.
so if you really wanted to get around the island, you had to kind of rent like a jeep, and then you can go that way. Or they did have some like vans or whatever like that from the few hotels that they had there. I think there was
Oh,
really
wow.
only like two, which was like the Four Seasons and some other resort. But that was probably one of my favorite highlights, and I would say
Yeah.
excursions that we kind of did. Other than that, was enjoying good food, man, uh, and just kind of enjoying like the local scene, like the where the little city that was uh, on the port that we used to go to Lanai. We kind of explored that area, which
Nice.
was really nice. Um, we found this, or I should really say, Christina found this cool little um, uh, shake smoothie stand place,
Okay.
juice bar kind of deal, like
Yeah.
right off the road. It was just
Hmm.
some random local guy or whatever like that. He had like a food truck or whatever, and he was just selling drinks out, and it was really nice. It
Nice.
was really a really enjoyable experience, and I
Cool.
mean, yeah, like I said, just
Yeah.
it was really great.
Well, good. Yeah, I know. Funny story. So, several years ago, we were in my family and I were in the Virgin Islands. Okay,
Hmm.
and they have a different drinking age there, even though they're a U.S. territory.
Hmm.
And so, I was 14, I think, 15, um, and we went up to a shake stand, right? And
Hmm.
I couldn't understand what this guy said to me. I was very impressionable when I was young to in this way. And he
Hmm.
said, "Are you 16?" I think is what he asked. Maybe it was
Hmm.
18. And regardless, I said yes, and I was not. And I didn't even know what he had said. Like, yeah, because I could tell he was asking if I wanted something added. And I'm thinking, I'm on vacation. Like, I want the full experience, right? Yeah, he put malt liquor in there, man.
Oh my gosh.
He put malt liquor in there for me and my dad. And the funny thing was, we didn't even get drunk at all. We just got really bad moods, like bad headaches. It had to
Mhm.
be some cheap liquor, man, because we just like felt terrible for like the rest of the day. Uh, so I'm like a little leery every time I see a shake stand. You know what I'm saying? Um, I'm not trying to accidentally get intoxicated. But
Mhm.
no, that's good. I'm glad that went well.
Mhm.
And I know we'll talk more about it off mic. I had a very crazy couple of weeks. It's been very busy, but very good. A lot of good things developing and progressing in my life. Also, it's been just music after music. I think not last week, but the or not this week, I should say, but the week before,
Mhm.
we had the Back Pocket Driver show, which was the first show we'd had in a few months over at the Brickyard. And we opened for this touring band from Indianapolis, and they were really good. They were really good. They were awesome. So that was pretty cool. And the show for us went very well. The next day, Glass Age was there. That has my friends from a band in Kansas in it for the most part.
Mhm.
And it's kind of like a continuation of Jeremy's music from the original band in Kansas, right?
Mhm.
And so that was cool to see. That was a lot of fun. Had some interesting gigs and just been doing a lot of things. Last night, went to see Wolfgang Van Halen's band at the Cotillion. It was the first indoor concert from a professional touring band that I've been
Mhm.
to since December of 2019, actually. Um, and there's a part of this I actually kind of want to talk about real fast, but I'll come back to it. Unfortunately, it was the same night as our good friend Blake Ellis's album release show, right?
Mm.
um, he's been working on this for over 4 years, and he had this
Mhm.
really cool album release show. Played for like 2 hours. I want to say there was a 15 song set, um, and I was not able to make it after all the
Oh.
support that I've given him and everything. But it sounded like it went really well, and awesome, some awesome. Like this is how Blake's mind works. He had lighting choreographed. He had all these visuals that he designed for the back wall, this digital screen behind them, and
Mhm.
that went along with the songs and the click tracks. And he had raffles that they did, and then he had cameras set up to film the whole thing, which is kind of
That's
wild.
awesome, man.
Yeah, kind of wild. So I'm excited to see that, especially for the last part because they ended with this cover of "Jump" by Van Halen. He jumps onto the drum riser and slips and face plants on the drum riser, bro.
Oh gosh.
I know. He got right back up like that. The adrenaline was pumping.
Well,
But
yeah.
yeah, so I saw a phone video of that. It's kind of funny. We all laughed about it. It was fine. I'm sure the rest of it was killer. Um,
Mhm.
and I'm glad that he is putting himself out there. If you guys haven't checked it out, it's Reality by Blake Ellis is the album, and it's pretty good stuff, man. So,
Mhm.
um, anyway, this Wolfgang Van, it's funny that they ended with Eddie Van Halen's song because this Wolfgang Van Halen concert, his son, it was really good, and I had a lot of fun going to it. It was very true to the record. It was just a good,
Mhm.
solid concert. What was interesting about it is this is the newest band I've ever seen in concert as a headliner, right? So they were
Mhm.
just formed. Like Wolfie's been working on these songs for like 5 years, but they just formed as a band earlier this year,
Oh,
and
wow.
for because Wolfie did all the instruments himself, so in the studio,
Mhm.
but obviously it's impossible live. So,
Yeah.
uh, so with that said, I did not expect what I saw, and I get it. His last name is Van Halen, but the majority of people, I would say 80% of the crowd, were in their 40s, 50s, 60s. And I was like, what the heck is happening? We go, like, you've gone to me or gone with me to a couple of Alter Bridge concerts, right? And I know
Mhm.
they have a very modern sound, which is cool, but like Miles is 50, Mark is in his late 40s, but at least half the concert is younger than we are. Half the crowd, which is
Mhm.
or around our age, you know what I'm saying? Um, which is really cool. This was not that, but the other thing that was interesting to me about it is this is the first concert I've ever been to where they required proof of COVID vaccination.
Oh,
So
interesting. Okay.
we don't have a lot of that up here in Kansas. um, and I know that your governor is trying to outlaw that, but
Yeah, it's
uh,
really annoying.
yeah,
But yeah.
yeah, down in the good old state of Texas. But it
Oh,
was
man, I hate him. Anyway.
well, it was interesting because all I had to do was show a photo of it. I
Mhm.
mean, come on, that's so easy to fake. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But
Yeah. Well, I mean, Hawaii was, um first time that you went, you had to show, like, the actual physical deal, and then you could take a picture,
that's nice. Yeah,
for a lot of the stuff, so it was interesting.
yeah. I know it is kind of an interesting thing, but I will tell you, as a pro-vaxxer, I love the fact that and this was a little interesting to me. There were still people in there wearing masks, which I was like,
Mhm.
why? But it was nice being in there and trusting, nothing to worry about from a health standpoint and just can go all out and
Mhm.
have fun, you know?
Feeling like old times.
Yeah. which there's no reason it shouldn't. Anyway, I'm not trying to get on that tangent again, but I thought that was cool. So, anyway, we got some good stuff that we want to talk about real quick. The
Mm,
first one is California is banning all gas sales of gas powered lawn equipment by
mhm.
2024, just 3 years from now. This is part of their Going Green initiative that they've set a lot of deadlines for over the next several decades. And it's a good initiative. I think the intention is pure. Whether you believe in global warming or not, why wouldn't you want to make the air more breathable, right? Um,
Exactly, exactly.
and and less impact on the environment, right? Why wouldn't you want that? So, um, but maybe perhaps the or not the motives, but the way it's being done may be a little controversial. And
Mhm,
also, we want to talk about Facebook's outage and the
mhm,
impact of everybody knew about it. It was their biggest outage since 2008, right? But
mhm.
man, the timing of this and how it's going to affect the company, it comes at an interesting time for the company with what's going through right now. So
Yep.
we want to talk about all that. So let's go ahead and get into it. All right, three, two, one. What's going on, everybody? I'm John,
And I'm Denison.
and this is the catch up. Can I just say I'm so glad we're not having any technical issues right now?
I know, me too. It's
It's been
great.
really nice. Got some people on the live stream. Now would be the
Mhm.
worst possible time for one of our cameras to crash.
Hey,
Again,
man, don't jinx it.
I know. All right, here, let's go ahead and get into this because I got to keep this thing moving.
Yep, let's do it, bro.
Excuse me. Okay, three, two, one. Before we get into these topics, I want to remind you guys of a few things. We're live streaming on Facebook right now. People will jump
Mhm,
in on the comments anytime that they want, leave their thoughts as we have this discussion, and it can direct the conversation in real time as we record the episode. So you want to give us a follow over there and on our Instagram page. Both of those are facebook.com or instagram.com/the ketchup cast. We have our website, which has all of our episodes, videos, and merchant apparel. I'm rocking our Let's Go Ahead and Get Into It t-shirt right now. Classic. I
mhm,
love it. And we're going to be updating with some new stuff in the coming months. So you want to check that out. That's nosignalrocks.com. There's a drop down menu to the Ketchup Podcast page. And all of this is linked down in the description of our episode. And then be sure to email us at theketchupcast@gmail.com. Leave us your thoughts on the episodes. Leave us some topic suggestions, or maybe you want to be featured on an episode. Let us know why and how. Which, speaking of, this next week, man, we're going to have a very
mm.
special guest.
Yeah, man.
I'm very excited about it. It is professional broadcaster Alan Bestwick. I'm not exaggerating. This guy is professional broadcaster. He's done Indianapolis
Mhm,
500s. He's done Daytona 500s. And he's kind of a legend in the world of motorsports when it comes to broadcasting. And
mhm.
I am so excited to interview this guy. It's going to be so
Yeah,
cool.
man. It's
So
gonna
we're
be
going to
amazing.
yes, we're going to get to speak with him, which is a great reason for you to subscribe and leave us a rating and review. Let us know how we're doing, and that will help us continue to grow and reach a new audience. So, a lot of exciting stuff coming up, but we want to get into our topics here. First off, let's start off with this Going Green initiative, right? So,
Mhm,
I want to talk about it from. So here's the deal. 2024, no sales of new gas powered lawn equipment. Right now, that doesn't mean you can't
mhm,
own them.
mhm.
It just means companies can't sell them to you, and so um, the goal here is obviously cleaning up the environment. California has been very big on that for a long time.
Yep.
Really, the leader of it, really, in this country, and so I'm good with the intent. Obviously, like I said in the opener, why wouldn't you want to make the world a healthier place, right? Regardless of
Yep.
what you think the intentions are, or how it impacts global warming or whatever, why wouldn't you want to do that? Well, I think it's great what the intention is here, but is it overstepping on the realm of government is a government overreach. Um,
Mm,
you're you're going into the free market and you're banning these sales. Now, here I have an interesting take on this.
okay.
And people won't like it because of where we're at in our society with vaccinations and everything. But it goes into that concerns of a slippery slope, right? um, Public health emergency, right? If uh, a government can go beyond the realms of their normal reach in times of a public health emergency, hence these
Yep.
vaccine mandates and things like that. And if you declare climate change a public health emergency,
Mhm.
which conceivably you could, because it will in fact impact our health and way of life and
Mm.
livelihood, right?
Yep.
Then that gives you the grounds to do things like this, right? Where you can outlaw the sale of things that are going to be harmful to that environment, right?
Yep.
Um, Now, I think people's arguments here would be like, well, the science is out on how that impacts climate change, right? And
Mhm.
to that, I would say, but the majority of science says that it does, right?
Yeah,
Uh,
exactly.
so I think that has yet to have been done. I think, which kind of leaves this open for debate with what California is doing. But um, you're only going to be able to buy battery powered lawn equipment or um, corded lawn equipment like chainsaws,
Okay.
right? And those have
Yeah,
been around
for ages.
for years, right? Trimmers,
Mhm.
all that stuff have been around for years that are electric. And honestly, I don't see a reason not to do this. I know I'm going to buy a battery powered mower, right?
Yeah,
I think John Deere either has one or is working on one.
I
Uh,
believe so.
yeah, and there's just no reason not to have that. Those are small to me. If it's small machinery, right?
Mhm.
It's easier to maintain. It's cheaper to maintain. You know, you can replace the batteries
Mhm.
way easier than you can in that of a Tesla. Obviously,
Yeah,
I
exactly.
think that I think the vehicle thing
Less
is a
noise
little
pollution.
less noise pollution. It really is quieter. Actually, our neighbor has one. It's a Ryobi. He just walks around with no hearing protection on. Like he could have a conversation like we're having over his mower. You
Mhm.
know. Um, and I do think it's a bigger stretch for vehicles, and I get why. Like there's so many different factors to that. But for small equipment, there's no reason in this day and age for it to be gas powered. There's just not.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
really
No,
not.
I'm right there with you. I mean, I think it's the um to be honest, and this may be a hot take as it is, I think we should just do it like next year. I think we should move up the timeline. The only reason why I say that, and I do understand that some of it is more along the lines of for manufacturers to get ready, right? You have to give them
Sure,
time to prepare and all that other good stuff like that.
sure.
But as you already stated, we've had this equipment out there. It's just we haven't given manufacturers the incentive to want to do these, use these types of or tool their facilities to start producing these uh, pieces of equipment on a larger scale. But I think it
Right.
should be accelerated just because I feel like we're in an era now that we're starting to actually really, really feel the effects of climate change a lot more.
Mhm.
And I feel like this also gives the consumer more of a it empowers your consumer a little bit more to actually feel like they're making a difference because
Right.
I feel like that's one of the things, right? Right now, everybody, essentially all consumers feel like they actually have power to do is, well, I recycle and I drive less. Like, it
Right.
doesn't
Yeah. Yeah.
it doesn't feel like there's a lot of other choices. And I feel like giving consumers other choices and getting people in that mindset is the right thing to do. So I actually think that they're doing it a lot slower than I think they should, but that's just me
Interesting.
being crazy. So
No, no, that's interesting, man. And I hear where you're coming from too. it is something that really with I think certain companies need to push out that stuff more, like Toro, for example. I'm not even sure if Toro has a battery powered mower in there. Um,
Mhm.
very, near the top of the market. So I think certain companies need to push that a little bit more. Um, the interesting thing is this. So California, they have the money to do this. They have a huge population and the taxes are astronomical, right? But they're
Mhm.
going to use millions, if not billions, with a B, um,
With the
of
B.
dollars. Yeah, with a B, um, to give that, or they're going to use that money to help uh, professional lawn care companies afford battery powered equipment or electric. The thing is, there are 50,000 lawn care businesses that are registered with the state of California.
Wow.
Um, I don't know how you manage all of that, right?
Yeah, that's a lot.
I mean, even with millions of dollars, will it be able to help? I don't know. So it's not that they're saying, "Hey, fend for yourself." It's in fact that we're going to use this money that people pay willingly to live in the state of California, where it is a more natural beauty out there,
Mhm.
to keep it that way, right? And
Yep.
so, really, if you follow the money trail, you could say, "Well, hey, this is arguable and equitable, in my opinion," right?
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
so I think it's a very forward-thinking thing, and I'm not saying I think it's a good move on the state of California. But I agree, you could argue that it could be done faster. But I think it gives because they influence uh large corporations because it's such a big state and
Yeah.
highly populated state, for a long time, which I think, correct me if I'm wrong, I think these are all the same across, like the EPA standards are the same across all 50 states now. For a long time, California had more strict pollution standards than the
Mm.
rest of the country did, right? And
Mhm.
so, Carmi,
Uh, well, I
what were
would
you going
say that I was just gonna say, like, I think, California does have still has slightly more strict, emissions, when it comes into emissions and stuff like that, standards, because if I'm not mistaken, for the most part, most car auto manufacturers have gotten past, when they're selling stuff to the United States or selling vehicles, they've already gotten past that California, smog emissions kinda test,
right?
before they sell it to the rest of the country. But I think there are certain vehicles that some manufacturers sell that are still like they have a California edition, which is
Oh, yeah.
um, to rep- to properly be ready for California emissions and stuff.
Sure, sure. Yeah, which I think is, like I said, I think it's a good thing, but they've always been more strict on this stuff. Makes you wonder too, as the science comes out more and more about where we're at with climate change, where it would be without California taking these steps too. I don't know.
Yeah.
It's interesting to think about, but I I do think that there's a little leniency there for rebuttal and frustration on this because of the fact that this is not declared a public health emergency yet, which really falls on
Hmm.
the federal government to do that. But as it stands, I think this is a really good move, forward thinking move. And I would highly recommend everybody check out battery powered lawn equipment because I don't know why you wouldn't. Um,
Exactly.
so, so yeah, that was good. But no, okay, the Facebook outage. Let's talk about that real fast.
Yeah.
Um, what's the ramifications that we're still dealing with that? Because I think a lot of people think, well, that was crazy and terrifying. Oh, like people that freaked out about being down, man. I was like, thank God. I hope it never comes back. Except for the fact that we wouldn't have this podcast. But um, that would not be fun, by the way.
Yeah. No.
But outside of that, you know, what are the ramifications of this that we're still dealing with or have yet to deal with?
So I think some of the ramifications, because the problem is like this outage happened around the same time as when they had a data breach, as well as around the same time as they had a whistleblower um,
Yeah,
speak to Congress, talking about some of the studies that Facebook had already internal about how Facebook affects young teens, as well as just the general audience, their general audience, and how they have designed their algorithm for profit rather than for, you know, social, keeping people's mental states in a good point or whatever like that.
sure.
So I think one of the big ramifications right now is that with the outage and seeing how much Facebook touches like everything else, and how much or how many things have that Facebook is involved in, and how many things went down during that time, because it wasn't just Facebook, it was WhatsApp, it was Oculus, it was there was another one as well. Oh yeah, Instagram, of course, and a few other ones that all kind of went down at the exact same time. So um, now there are legislation that is being processed or even looked at about breaking up Facebook, the company at large, and breaking up those companies into that it has into multiple or different separate entities,
Yeah, kind of
and
like what they
essentially
did with.
low.
Sorry, kind of like what they did with
No, go ahead.
companies like AT&T many years ago, right?
Exactly,
Calling them a
exactly.
monopoly. Yeah,
Uh, and then they're also looking at restrictions when it comes to Facebook, like heavily restricting on how Facebook runs and operates, and what kind of content that they can share, or and how their algorithm works. Um, I think there was one proposal to where they wanted to, Congress wanted to essentially look at their algorithm, like Facebook's algorithm on how it, determines what to share with people and what to promote and all that other good stuff like that. They wanted to look at it and evaluate it and almost have it like as an evaluation timestamp, so that they're always going to do it like a yearly deal. Um, to try uh, to make it change to where it's not so focused on profit, because I think that's one of the biggest things, that they feel that Facebook is so focused on profit that it's actually affecting their users' mental health
yeah,
in ways that
right.
we haven't seen before. So
Yeah,
those are some of the big ramifications. So, I mean, I think in the next coming years, because that's the thing, a lot of this stuff takes a long time. I think we can see and expect Facebook to, one, probably lose a lot of their market share that they currently have, but also um, we can also see them essentially not being the same platform as it is now, whether that's a good thing or a bad thing.
yeah. It's interesting to me the timing of all of this as you were describing. It's very suspect. Now there was a certain discussion about reinstating Donald Trump's uh, Facebook page as well, and that surrounding the time that Facebook got shut down. There's just a lot going on in the company, and I will say this too. So a lot of organizations will wait until Fridays to put out updates on bad things that have happened because people don't pay attention to the news as much on Friday nights and Saturdays and even Sundays for the
Hmm.
most part. And so, with that said, I think it was some point midweek when this whole thing was coming out about the whistleblower. And as you were saying, her concerns are that Facebook puts profit above people's well being and knowingly has a wide sweeping algorithm that promotes um, topics that could be controversial. It's to get people talking,
Hmm.
kind of like what our podcast is about, except we don't try to trigger people. but
Exactly.
but it includes things that are triggering and even flat out false. So that's why, Russian and Chinese bots were using the platforms for propaganda purposes, right? And
Mm-hmm.
and things along those lines. So they Mark Zuckerberg sent out a memo saying, many of the things that she said are completely incorrect, and I don't know where she's getting that from. Then a couple days later, on Sunday morning news uh, entities, like the vice president of one of the departments announced that they were making changes to the algorithm to prevent this kind of stuff from happening. Right.
Mm-hmm.
So it wasn't
Yep.
Zuckerberg that made the announcement. So his hands appear more clean. And then they admitted their fault in it. Right.
Yep.
And I think that is so suspect and
Yeah.
so sketchy, man. And really, that guy being Zuckerberg, I mean, he's just kind of a. I remember, like, with the Social Network, the movie about all this, the whole thing's just kind of suspect to begin with. And, I don't know. It's really interesting that we trust so much information uh, to a group that we really know very little about, right? Um,
Yeah.
so not only that, but we surround our lives and our daily livelihoods with it, to where when these things crash, it and pandemonium ensues, right? So
Yeah.
um, even media and news media like base what they do off of social media as well. So um, it's definitely changed the way of life to the point where people didn't really know what to do. But I think it would be interesting, man, to break these companies up. I think that's probably the least government overreach way you could handle this,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Uh, but I think there needs to be some sort of regulation on social media, and I don't really know what that looks like.
Yeah. Yeah.
But
That's how I feel as well. I think it's
yeah,
kind of hard. One interesting fact is that the whistleblower, she also stated that she didn't think that breaking up Facebook was the right thing to do, which is interesting, right? For
yeah,
someone who came out saying, all these big things against it, she still didn't think that breaking up Facebook was the right thing to do. So that
sure.
is something that's really, really interesting.
I agree. Yeah. So you think that since they're willing to listen to her concerns, they should listen to her thoughts on what the solution is too. Um,
Uh,
I would, and I know this is extremely biased. I will preface it with that, but I think that they should do some heavy regulation on social media because to the point where people don't want to use it in the same way that it's used. Because we've talked about
mhm.
this a lot on this podcast. And I think it's kind of
Yep.
led to a denigration of society and culture to a degree. Um, but I don't think that's really, I don't think this is the motivation for that. I think there just does need to be perhaps some level of government oversight for any algorithm. Like they need to know and understand what these algorithms do, and then monitor that for public safety, if you will, or
Mhm.
public entertainment. I don't know what that would look like. That sounds like kind of crazy, and um, or maybe it's just reports to the government of what those algorithms do. I mean, there's a lot of easy ways to hide certain things, of course, but there's just I think there needs to be more done. So anyway,
Yeah.
um, well, this was a good discussion. It was a relatively quick one, but I'm glad we had it. I'm glad you're back
Mhm.
on land. Um, and and didn't swell up from some seafood. So that's good.
Mhm.
Um, but real quick, follow us on Facebook. The three main things we need you to do is follow us on Facebook so you can join these live streams as we record the audio
Mhm.
episodes in real time. Check out our website, go to nosignalrocks.com, hit the drop down menu and find the Catch Up Podcast. You'll see all our merch, apparel, episodes, and videos all in one place. And then leave us a rating and review. Let us know what you think of the show. And it'll help us continue to grow and tell the podcast algorithms that people are reacting to this podcast. So this has been fun, man. I'm glad we did
Mhm.
it. Thank you guys so much for listening. Thank you for watching, and we'll catch up with you next week.